Warning.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
The following podcast features terrible jokes.
You know you can use Hot Wheels cars when you need to make a saving throw in D&D? Every car is die-cast.
Usually about board games.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
We had less technical issues than $1 million company.
All right!
This is Boards and Swords.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boards and Swords. This is a podcast featuring bad jokes, good folks, and some tabletop games. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Chris Renshaw, and we have a plethora of people here today. Starting off in order below me is my partner in crime, Mr. Philip Herbig.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Monday. Beginning of a new week. You made it.
The best part about Monday, the show.
The end of it.
Well, yeah, that too. Also joining us this week, we have Eric and Justus from the makers of Doomlings.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having us.
Hey there.
It's great. I described it last week when we were doing the what's coming up next week as if you go to your local Target and you see like exploding kittens and you just kind of turn to the right, it's the game that's like right there.
Yeah, that's been how we've defined our careers. Not exploding kittens, guys.
So for those
cool. Thanks for having us.
For those that aren't aware, though, why don't you give us just a quick pitch about what Doomlings is?
Yeah, of course. So Doomlings is a pretty lightweight card game. It's for 2 to 6 players. You're basically building your own species of Doomlings, trying to score the most points until the world inevitably ends. That way you can quantify the value of your otherwise meaningless life. The game is sort of the idea is to do sort of Magic the Gathering-like mechanics in such a lightweight form that my mother is willing to sit down and play it with us. She'll never know the difference. And then we take some principles and concepts of TCG or LCG elements and pack them into a small box game so that nobody has to go out and pay for competitive advantage. Everybody's playing from the same deck, but they get the sort of novelty that you would from a TCG or LCG. So,
awesome. Well, we're going to talk a lot more about Doomlings, but first we have to subject our guests to some news and bad jokes. News. I guess that means I should pull up the right news story. Hey, if you mashed a bunch of pins together and formed a cube, would that be considered a rubiks cube? So, this article in Wargamer, in this new puzzle-powered D&D adventure, the dungeon is also a Rubik's Cube. So, I got a lot of quirky things in the news because basically, like all my news feeds were overwhelmed with talking about the tariffs, and we already spent a bunch of time talking about that, and I would like to not be depressed after an episode. So, anyways, an upcoming third-party Dungeons & Dragons adventure offers adventurers their greatest puzzle of all, a literal Rubik's-style cube. Laszlo's Cubed Crypt, a level 12 adventure from designer Nathan Doyle, begins crowdfunding next week on BackerKit. The arch-villain is Laszlo the Lavish, a lich that, though once killed, is expected to return via his still-missing phylactery. When his crypt is discovered, you must make attempts to explore it, only to become trapped in a demi-plane of his own making. Because the puzzle cube that comes with the adventure is actually the dungeon. So DMs can choose to let the players solve the cube themselves as a part of the adventure, or they can provide it fully solved at appropriate story moments. So
I want to put this in the hands of one of those speedrunners.
Well,
one of those speed cuber guys.
no, all you got to do is just like right and up just a bunch, and that usually does it.
It just came out that one of those guys was caught cheating in one of those like international competitions.
How do you? What are they
I think
like?
It was like a weighted I don't know. Yeah,
Oh.
I'll dig it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was
How
like,
would you cheat that?
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it
did he
makes me feel better about my
like
abilities.
remove the stickers when no one was like?
Yeah, used to
Not
was
that
you
much.
steam the stickers off and
Homer Simpson style it.
yeah.
I don't know, Philip.
Now,
What do
now
you
it's
think?
all colored plastic. Well, I'm digging it. You said it's on backer kit.
It will be next
Alright,
week
here we
on the 22nd.
Favorite that so I get notified.
And the cube itself, if this is the right cube, at least that from what I'm seeing, it definitely looks like a D&D adventure in a cube. I feel like I have the
Oh.
I have like there's a was it Inkwell Ideas has dice that kind of look like this that I have that you can roll and like make a dungeon.
Yeah, it's like what
Oh,
4d6s that are
Yeah.
pretty big, and you just roll them out, and boom, there's
But in
There's
this,
a whole
it's
one, a
like you
couple
don't even
rooms.
you only need the one because you just like rotate it and now there's a different dungeon path.
That's wild.
I love it. I'm all about the creativity that people have.
follow. There we go.
Oh, did you find it? And
Well, I mean, I figured there's a link in the article.
oh
but
yes,
it's backer kit page.
yep. Oh yeah, down there. So yeah, Dyson logos etched style of dungeon design has been adopted by many online map makers and even official D&D books, and now Dyson has lent his design to Laszlo's cubed crypt. I don't know. Justus, Eric, either one of y'all big RPG gamers, or do you stick more to card games?
it's after starting this company and then having a child, it's like really narrowed my scope of the hobby.
Right.
So, I would say that was more like 7 years ago for me, where I had
Still
that
looking for those
time.
extra spare 6 hours in the week.
The closest you'll get to this is just a regular Rubik's cube.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
I
This
did
is-
see there was a pair of like D&D dice that was like it comes in a handgun revolver chamber and then it
Yes.
rotates and they
Oh, I've
drop
seen-
out and you know what I'm
I've
talking
seen
about?
those. Yes.
That blew my mind. That was
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
like bullet-shaped dice that are in like
Yeah.
I think a friend of mine has them. And we hate them because like they roll really well.
Of course.
Hi, Evan says hi and that he loves Doomlings.
Oh, cool, Evan.
Hello.
See, now I'm just so like we've got this. This is your standard Rubik's cube there, but now I'm just like all of the other Rubik's
Oh
cubes
yeah,
that
like
are
the
out there.
4x4 and the 5x5.
The 4x the completely impractical like 100 by 100.
Where the edge ones kind of fall off.
Yes.
Right.
I remember that was the thing when they first started going beyond the 3x3 is like it just couldn't stay together. I'm assuming now that they have better production standards, but it was like when the 5x5 first came out, it was just like you'd turn it and like half the pieces fell off.
They got to reinvent themselves somehow.
I know, right?
You got to look outside the 3x3 box. So
It's like the
that a triangle
have you
version?
seen the we talked about them once. I think it was before a show once where they got the official expansions to Monopoly now.
Yes.
oh yeah,
Which,
There's
like,
a
you just
triangle
buy
version of
jail or
Rubik's
something.
cube.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. All right. Moving on. I made an ordered list of all the people that help out in my community, a volunteer list, if you will. This is another one that was just wild, where it's so the article is from Rascal. Oji-san TCG is the pinnacle of card games. It's a card game about a bunch of volunteers in a Chinese village.
We like.
So I forgot to log in to read the most of it, but basically it was this village in China basically took all these old men that like help out in their community and turned them into a playing card game, into a trading
With
card game
superpowers.
version.
It's
this is
great. There's
amazing.
even like there's like a backhoe. Backhoe has a card as well.
Actually, I'll switch it to me real quick, and I can actually sign in and see the rest of the article.
What's
Since the
best
card game went viral, so many kids are starting to look up to these men as heroic figures.
I dig it.
I mean, that's one way to get noticed.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was probably the
Volunteering
point.
school again.
All right.
Is
never
it? Hang on.
mind.
Hang on. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
Did you see the post date of this article?
Yeah. I know, it's entirely possible it's a April Fool's joke, but either way, it's funny. Like I said, I'm one of the people that I love April Fool's Day for nothing else than the just creativity that some people go to.
To see the
Like the amount of effort it takes.
the production effort
Yeah.
that some of these companies put into
GW did a
like to
GW did a life-size tactical rock. So like everybody jokes about the rocks that like you'll see them like put like the Space Marines always like standing with like 1 foot on a rock or whatever, so they call them tactical rocks. So they made a April Fool's joke of like, now you can order your life-size tactical rock for like to stand on. And I'm in the Slack for the Nova Open, and someone's like, we should do this like as a little life-size thing that like cosplayers could stand on.
I would love to stick my head under a sheet every April Fool's Day and just tell people to wake me when it's over.
Wait,
I never know what's coming.
I have to say,
I do appreciate when the companies, when there's so much backlash of this was an April Fool's joke, and then they're like, all right, fine, we'll make the thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted it.
Like I tell Ashley every year, it's like when we wake up on like April 1st, I'm like, remember it's the 1st. Don't believe anything you see.
I once got
Including
a
this
positive
statement.
pregnancy test from a girlfriend
Ooh.
on April Fools, and that was like 7, 8 in the morning. I woke up to that. That was not cool.
Yeah.
Those are like that whole genre of joke. It's like that. There's people who can't get pregnant, and you're making it a joke, guys. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, I was so young that it was also like the opposite. It was just terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still of that mindset actually, but yeah, not a tasteful joke at all.
Yeah.
Beatles got the Tauntaun sleeping bag.
ThinkGeek was the king of this. Of whenever every year they would make an April Fool's joke, and most of the time it ended up becoming a real product. Because I think one year it was I want to say one year they did the tiny arcade machine that like you could put a tablet in and stuff and like use the buttons and stuff, and like that ended up becoming a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be an incredible marketing technique, or maybe some R&D at little cost. Just like kind of say, hey, we're making this thing, and then when nobody wants it, you're like, well, that's okay, I was joking. And if everybody's like, this is amazing, like, cool. Well, I guess I learned something.
We totally didn't plan for that to be a thing.
Yeah.
All right. No beating around the bush on this next one. These people nailed it. So, yeah, coming out of Adepticon a couple weeks ago, hardcore wargamers are suddenly into nail art.
Huh.
And that is, and actually, it is funny that the more you look into the kind of painting aspect of wargaming, the more you find crossover with cosmetics. Like, the dry brush I use is literally literally a powder makeup brush, because it's like I can go spend $20 for a wargaming dry brush, or I could go to like Target and spend $5 for a really good powder brush. But basically, so if you're someone that likes their nails done, you probably already know about this. But apparently there's a technique in nail art where you can stamp your nails by apparently you can get these like metal plates, and you paint on with the fingernail polish on the design, and then basically use like a either cotton or some sort of transfer thing that basically stamps on there, and then just kind of like rub it across your nail, and it transfers the ink or the polish. Well, when you're talking about painting miniatures, you've got all these like designs and stuff for like the shoulder pads and things, and the traditional way of doing it are these like water slide decals that are terrible. I hate them so much because they're great if you have a flat surface, but when you're talking like a shoulder pad, they never want to lay flat. They always want to curve up in weird ways, and it's like, yes, you can buy products that make it easier, but it's just annoying. But now this company, Goblin Hobbies, has kind of taken this stamping tutorial and kind of repurposed it into a set for miniature gamers. So like there you can see clearly, like there's basically, nail polish right there. And then you've got these stamped sets where you put the polish on there, scrape off the excess, so only the symbols left, and then use that silicone stamp to kind of grab it and then apply it to your miniature. And I think this is amazing.
I learn more about the world of girls every day.
My sister was the one who first taught me to paint miniatures, and she told me it was just like painting nails, and now I'm realizing how years ahead of her time she was.
I've definitely had my wife be like, "You're good at painting stuff, so can you paint my nails?" Like I've definitely repurposed those skills myself.
You need to sneak like an ultramarine design.
So unfortunately, right now I look because I a friend of mine got these, and I got to see what it was like, and you can't get these right now because they're sold out. Like this is just a brand new company, and between Adepticon and probably the press from this article after Adepticon, their website is completely sold out. So. But Goblin Hobbies is the place to go if this interests you at all. But now I'm sitting here thinking, like, I got access to a laser cutter. Like, can I like make my own version of this?
I'm sure it'll be just as good.
No, it
I
won't
believe in
be.
you,
But
Chris.
anything's better than those stupid water slide decals. All right. So, if you're watching over-the-air TV and you can tell the news is lying, are you watching CBS?
You probably are.
So, Quack's publisher CMYK is launching a TV game show based on another Wolfgang Warsch game this year. So, the publishers of Quacks of Quedlinburg and Wavelength are making the jump to TV with the launch of a game show based on 2018 design Illusion, which they're re-releasing soon as Figment. Challenge contestants to test their pop culture knowledge by placing items in a precise lineup to win cash prizes. And it's anchored by CBS, has now been sold to 90% of the broadcast stations in the U.S. Yeah. We get dozens of inquiries each year to make a Wavelength TV show, and while we haven't hit the perfect format for that yet, we were lucky enough to meet lots of people through those conversations. Have been working on a put things in a line game for years, and working with Wolfgang on Figment, which is the redesign of his game Illusion. So a lot of ideas have been percolating, and then the folks at the Game Show Network and CBS loved how simple the idea was. So yeah, you gotta. I mean, that's fundamental. Philip, I think they stole our shtick. We just take board games and turn them into game shows here on this show.
All the time. I mean, what do you think? Like a 1% royalty? Will we be happy with that?
I don't know. We need to say, can we?
Just a taste.
Let's just be in negotiations and see if it lasts the season first.
There we go.
Game shows are famously known for like lasting one season and then they disappear and never happen again.
Never ever.
I wonder if that's going to happen to that Beast Game show. I
I
didn't
hope so.
watch it, but I watched a lot of commentary on it, and didn't seem like much of a game show at all.
Oh, it was horrible.
It's just paying people to leave.
Yeah. It was bad. Just like
Did you end up watching it?
I did the same thing. I watched like people commentating on it.
Yeah, I was like, am I going to bother giving time to this? And it seems as though there was a lot of great content that came in the form of reactions.
Yeah.
So
Did you say something, Philip?
Well, I was like, Beast Games. I'm like, okay, some of these posters look kind of cool with the explosions in the background.
Oh yeah, no, but it's
That's-
like, what can I make people do for money? Like all these people like are in dire need of money for various reasons. It's like, what's the
It
worst
does
things?
have kind of an icky kind of.
Yeah, it's like what's and
Dance
it's
Monkey
not
Dance
even
quality to it.
like one of the streamers I watched it. Like she was very she has a lot of psychology backgrounds, and so she's talking about like the framing of everything, where it's like him on top of the pile of money looking down on everybody, and it's just like a lot of subtle things where it's like the editing on this is just not good.
Yeah.
There was something on MTV years ago when they were like doing spring break and all that stuff, and they
Uh-huh.
would like run around. And it was like anything for $1,
Oh,
and it was like, hey, would you do shots of olive oil or like shots of hot sauce?
I feel like that
Oh,
it's stuff.
jeez.
It's stuff like that that led us to have reality TV. Like
It did. Like one
that
guy,
that led to
they came
real
up,
world.
They came up to
was-
this dude with a full head of hair, and it's like, hey, we'll give you $50 if you'll get a Friar Tuck haircut. And he was like, yeah, sure.
I mean, that was a lot of money back then.
That was, man. This was 2003, 2004, man.
I mean, you could have a whole army of 40K for that.
For $50.
All right, last story. If you get to play D&D at work, would that mean you are really enjoying the Chris Perkins of the job? This was a shock to me until I sat down and did the math. But Chris Perkins retires from from Wizards of the Coast. So in case he has been in charge of D&D for a long time. Like I want to say most coming in at 3rd edition and like most of the way through 4th and 5th, and now after 28 years he's retiring from Wizards of the Coast. And then another big long timer, Jeremy Crawford, also a couple of days later announced he was leaving as well. Oop. Yeah, today I retire from Wizards of the Coast after 28 years, with D&D's 50th anniversary wrapping up and the revised rulebooks doing gangbusters. This is the perfect fairy tale ending for me. I can't wait to enjoy D&D purely as a fan again, knowing the game is in good hands. See you in the Feywild. And it's like when you see it like that, you're like, oh, yeah, I guess, that is around when you're supposed to retire, I guess. I don't know what that's supposed to be. But a part of me is like, I feel like he's not done with D&D yet. Or maybe he's done with D&D, but I'm like, I feel like we're going to hear from him again.
I think it's more like you can't. 28 years is a long time to do anything.
Yeah.
You know.
He probably wants to moonlight and maybe just kind of take some of the pressure off. I mean, at 57, he's still got a lot left to do.
Yeah. I mean, but I could totally see him just doing his own company and just releasing products and then it's like, I don't have to do D&D. I can do it for whatever system I want. Or I'm just going to make my own system.
With gambling and booze.
I said on Blue Sky the funniest joke would be if he had said, I'm leaving Wizards of the Coast, the next day is like, I got hired by Paizo.
There's got to be some non-compete in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably. He's got to wait a year
Those guys,
first.
the guys who made Naked Juice.
Oh
like
yeah.
didn't have that, and they started a Dwala like the next day.
I didn't know that, but now I made the connection.
Yeah, they waited like a month or something, and then it was just like, okay, well, we sold it to Pepsi, let's sell this to Coke. Like it was crazy, but yeah, take the money, and
We're
run.
getting both sides of this.
I remember take the money and run. There was some controversy with the NEA years ago, like the National Endowment of the Arts, and some guy, he went to a museum and they like asked them to pay to commission paintings or whatever, and he just put like 2 white canvases on a display, and it was called "Take the Money and Run."
Art is
amazing.
impractical value placed on practical objects. Don't forget it.
Which is why you should never buy NFTs.
Do
I
whatever
started
you
watching
want
that
with your money.
documentary on the guy who sold that NFT for $69 million. I had to turn it off because my toddler came in like a hurricane. So, such is life. But
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see kind of where Wizards goes next, which is odd because they haven't really announced a whole lot of new products outside of now that the revised rulebooks are done. Like the next book is going to be a Dungeon Delve, which is their anthology of different books, but they haven't announced what the next big campaign is going to be yet, which is kind of bizarre. Especially considering they just dropped like 3 new books. So, all right, and them's the news. And with that, we will turn it back over to talking with these guys about Doomlings. So, I know we hit like briefly talking about it, but is there any way you can give it? I mean, I could play the how to play video and don't need to get super detailed, but just so as we're flipping through here, people kind of know what to expect as far as how Doomlings plays.
Sure. Well, it might help to know that the inception of Doomlings was inspired by Guillotine and Sushi Go. So I was playing card games with my brother and my family, and we had a mix of more heavy board gamers and then people who the most they'll do is like rubbing your pinochle kind of stuff. And I noticed that with Guillotine and Sushi Go, they had some mechanics that reminded me of some of my favorite TCG games. They just had some elements in there that I don't think they were thinking of it that way, but when you play it, you kind of get that sense. And I thought, well, we could get a lot deeper with it while still putting the sort of facade of simplicity on it. So let me give you an example. You're playing a card and you're trying to build your species of Doomlings. So there'll be traits like teeth and fangs, and some of them get more scientific, like costly signaling, and some of them are more philosophical, like denial or faith. And they just come in the form of these little balls that are expressing traits. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they're each worth a point or some point value. So you might play teeth, and it's worth 1 point. But teeth has a special ability on it, and it says +1 gene pool, for example. And in Doomlings, the way you control your hand size, you can almost relate it to Flux in some way, except that everybody's hand is independently controlled, so your gene pool is different than others, and that just determines how many cards you hold in your hand at the end of the game. Again, I'm trying to make connections to familiar games,
Right.
and you guys will have to piece it all together. The way we sort our rounds are through ages. So each age a card is flipped. People take their turns, and that age gives like a special qualifier. You can't play blue cards, for example. And then we have mixed in there 3 catastrophes that determine the game flow, and that's going to be the same way like Pompeii or pandemic might sort. So that we control a little bit of the randomization, but we make sure that you're definitely going to have 9 to 13 rounds every game. You just don't necessarily know when those are coming. So again, like when I had made this, I just saw some familiar concepts from games I liked, and I didn't think too hard about it. I was simply thinking, wouldn't it be fun if we made 167 different cards and everything had its own special ability? And then my mom could finally see how fun the novelty of Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or Yu-Gi-Oh really is. She'll know what it's like to draw. And
She'll
what's
want
this?
to be
Tiny
the
little
very
melons?
she'll
Yeah.
want to be the very best, like no one ever was. Hey
Yeah.
Philip, did you see there's a
And,
flatulence
and
card?
I see
yeah,
there's a
we
what?
put little fun.
There's a flatulence card right there on the screen.
Nice.
If you go to worldofdoomlings.com, it's our compendium where we keep up with all of our cards. So this is our latest release, Legends of Enderis, and this is themed around Mythlings, Techlings, and Dinolings. So, so this is a more, I'd say, it's for the heavier version of our gamers. Again, I always am cautious not to say that when I'm talking to a group of board gamers. Our whole sales pitch is we're a game that you can kind of get deep with, feel like you're having a really good time, but you can play it with the more casual gamers that might not want to do, 3 and 4 hour board game nights
Right.
with you. So, but this collection is where we really went more into take that mechanics, and we have a lot more puzzles where you're trying to find where you have much more unique combinations than we've done before, because some of our player base likes playing multiple cards in a turn. They really like the combo powers in Doomlings. So this is where we tried to emphasize it. If you look at Foresight right there, you see he's a green card and he's got these two eyes. Looks like he's seeing into the future.
Yes.
You can kind of get an idea of these little touches we'll do on our mechanics. So at any time, you may discard Foresight from hand to peek at the next age. It's a really small idea in some ways. It's just giving you a little information as to what that next round will be. But the trick here is it's also playing with our mechanics where you're freeing up space in your hand. The power of Doomlings, like in a lot of card games, is card cycling. And you're then placing this into the discard pile that can be used in other ways from other effects where you might get that -1 point into your opponent's trait pile. So that's kind of the spirit of our game is we present like, don't take us too seriously, just a bunch of random chaos, have some drinks with your friends, and, try not to think about the end of the world.
Hey, that's
But
exactly the pitch for this podcast.
Yeah, but I think for our fans, they see that when they really get into it, the possibilities are limitless. No two games. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say, I guess you could say this about most board games, but you really can't engineer the best strategy, because in a way we're very tactical. You can't plan out what the end of the game is going to look like. Instead, you really have to play the hand you're dealt and adapt to the situation as it comes. And it's in that chaos where you actually see a ton of opportunity and possibility that I think stimulates that part of our brains as game players that just is looking to break the game, I guess. So
There's also I would kind of point you. We did a live stream on Friday where everybody from the team played with the new Legends of Enderis expansion. And you start with the foundation of, randomized new rules that will, give people different advantages throughout the game. They're hidden catastrophes, which introduce adverse rules that may set one player back and another player slightly less back. And then you start factoring in your obviously your base points to the cards you play, but then there are bonus points that you don't really calculate until the end. And then there are adverse points where, one of your opponents gets to choose a color and everybody has to discard one card from that color, but you don't know what color they're going to pick until the end. We get to this point where the game's over, and I think we unanimously agreed that I didn't do very well. But when you kind of compound all those factors, I ended up winning the game, and not by a lot, by 1 point compared to the person who's in second place. But it was emblematic of kind of the careful balance that we put into like all the different cards and making sure that they're either not too powerful, or if they are powerful, they come with vulnerabilities, or if they are, say, weaker cards, they might have more dexterity in terms of application of use, that really keeps it difficult to like count cards until the end, which is kind of fun.
Nice. It's one of those who managed the chaos the best.
Listen, that's so much of
You
life
know,
these days.
it changes to, in a 6-player game, you're gonna have the meta of the table.
Right.
It's just people get feuds, or they start teasing somebody. Somebody said something mildly insulting. It's like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to, deal this to you. And I think in the early days of designing this, I was kind of worried about the fact that there was so much chaos, especially me as a gamer. I'm kind of a grinder, which I know nobody likes to grind, but I'm the guy who likes to stay up late at night on Diablo for all hours, just trying to squeeze out the best. Anyway, I like that stuff. But where it's no longer fun, and I think modern gaming has kind of ruined this experience in a lot of ways, is when you know what the right strategy is to do. Like, you want to chase it, you want to feel like you're figuring it out. But these days, everything is online. It's so manufactured and engineered that it's like I've kind of fallen out of love with those games because somebody's already figured out the best way to do it. The Doomlings is kind of wrapped in this veneer of, it's almost impossible to say at any time what the right thing is to do, and so you constantly feel like you're still trying to solve that puzzle of what the perfect strategy is. So,
and that becomes especially important in 2-player games. This is kind of the child of the pandemic, where we were all just kind of bubbled up with our significant others or one roommate. And so it was like really important that there not be any one particular strategy that is the clear, way to victory or path to victory, or most likely to, rack up points. And I think that like that's what makes it so satisfying at the end, is when like even the people at Doomlings can't predict who the winner is. Yeah. I mean, my mom won her very first game that she played against like me and my brother, who had both played it several times before.
Oh, so she was probably hooked then, right?
Of course. Like, yeah, she's been chasing that dopamine ever since.
We find in play testing, the people who have the best experiences are the winners.
I could tell you that.
I just kidding. Yeah.
That's why it's like
Yeah.
half the time when I'm demoing games, I'm just like I tell people when they demo games, like, let them win because they'll like the game more.
Well, I think, yeah, in general, I think people also find little like ways to explore the game that are beyond competitive. So much of this is about like, doing what you can with the time that you have it. But like, if you click into any one of those cards, there's like a little, if you click into satirical, for instance, well, that's an age card. But if you look at the trait cards, there's a little like piece of flavor text there that's kind of just like a fun little thing that people have gotten into like reading out. And no two cards are identical, right? They're all unique within the game set, which is kind of fun. So even if you click back out, we have cards that are intentionally designed to build off of other. So if you click into the swarm one, for instance, there are multiple swarms in the game, but they're all slightly different, whether through the artwork or the flavor text, even though they're designed to be played off of one another. And I think that people just find fun ways of bonding over that, as well as the competitive nature of the game.
Gotcha.
There's this I don't think it's anything unique for me to say, a fundamental quality of the human experience. Let me get pretentious here. Allow me to step on a soapbox, if you guys don't mind. Is seeking novelty. It's just something we're drawn to. And when you really think about the nature of life is change. It requires things change. Otherwise, it's a static existence. And there's an Invader Zim comic. I forget if you guys knew that the creator of Invader Zim did a really dark comic about a serial killer. He has a great panel on this very thing. But I think with Doomlings, where we presented the game about life, and when people first interact with our game, they see kind of they think about the biological concepts a little more. What we're really interested in is more of the nature of life as we experience it. And I really hope anybody who plays our game and is listening to this is like, yeah, shut up. I'm just going to score some points and enjoy it. But for us, part of the charm of making it is considering the fact that I think there really is something fun about drawing a card and just having something new to experience. Even if you've seen the card 100 times, it may be the first time you really took a look at the flavor, or you maybe really took a look at the fact that there's a city on that dinosaur's back. You know, we have all of these little silly Easter eggs buried throughout our game, be it through the mechanics or through the artwork or through the lore, that I think just kind of is meant to build an experience when you're playing. Because there are board games where you're there and you want to be crunchy and you want to think. And then I think there are some games where you kind of just want to get immersed in a bit of an experience for the night and
Turn the
and
brain
enjoy
off.
some time with everybody. Yeah. Although I tell you, some of these frequently asked questions we get from our community, man, light my brain up. I just cannot believe the Pandora's box we created here. It is almost impossible to control all of the things they're breaking in our game because we're just not an algorithm, you know?
Yeah. And there are sometimes just things like, it's like, because we wanted to. That's why.
You're surprised you put something out there and the gamers are trying to break it.
No longer surprised.
This is my shocked
Come to
face.
accept it.
I mean, the idea of novelty also kind of like lends itself really well to this kind of other ecosphere we have within the Doomlings community, which is much more about like collecting. And while we're not a TCG and there's no competitive advantage to like buying more cards, we are really like, our childhood is based on a lot of it, the nostalgia of opening packs and discovering new things. And so what we wanted to do was create something that replicated that experience with Pokemon and with Magic, in kind of our like collectible side of things, where we decided at first to just create some holofoils based on some of our favorite traits that were in the original Kickstarter game. And it's really taken off, and Justus keeps pushing the boundaries in terms of creating new alt art and hidden prototype cards. And
I should clarify, it's a very fine line because we did not set out to be a collectible. When we did our Kickstarter, we thought it would be fun to holofoil some cards. And I kind of naively was remembering how fun it was to get a holofoil Pokemon and show it to your friend on the playground and be like, I got this one. I got Chansey. And your friend be like, yeah, but I got, I don't know, I got Blastoise. And then talking about which is better. And the problem is, once we created that experience,
Yeah.
like, see, you get your own unique little holofoil. Then you get a slew of people like, cash grab, you're trying to make us. I was like, I just thought it'd be fun. I don't know. And,
it doesn't affect the gameplay at all.
So, well, right, we're a small box game, and in those days, you got. So I maybe should clarify that this background. I made this game as a hobby with my brother. We were game enthusiasts, but this wasn't kind of where my head was. I didn't know much about game design at the time. And not only that, I didn't know how to draw, and I couldn't afford an artist. So the pandemic hit when I was working on this hobby. And so I ended up just watching a lot of YouTube to teach myself to draw. And I ended up drawing everything in the game, all the icons, all the characters. And I had not drawn anything before that. That's kind of the fun part of this. And my art's gotten a lot better over time. But at that time, again, remember, we're just launching a Kickstarter where we made this thing. We thought maybe we could sell it to some people. And in offering these holofoils, we had a split in our audience where some people said, well, we want all the holofoils. And some people said, no, the chase is fun. And I thought it would be funny if in those like mystery holofoils, I put a rainbow turtle. I just thought that'd be funny that like some little boy out there might open a pack and we hadn't talked about a rainbow turtle. No one knew it existed. It was the only thing that you couldn't get elsewhere. And he might just open it. And I pictured a little boy from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory having a golden ticket and just be like, whoa, I got something in this world that nobody else has. And I feel so I'm just enjoying
Oh, was there
this
only like
experience.
one of?
Yeah, I didn't even tell our team about it. I just like stuck it.
We're
In
like
I mean, I was
answering questions.
was
They're
the
like,
only
wait,
person.
there's a flying space turtle. He's rainbow now. Like, okay, hey, Justice, what's up, man? We're getting questions here.
Yeah, and it turned into this thing in the early days where it suddenly started being like just like this big corporate company with these malicious intentions trying to get us to buy this. And like, you don't have to buy it. The whole game experience is right here in this box. And they're like, but I want that card. Like, it's not even a good card. I didn't even play test this thing. I just wrote text on it. And I think it was in that moment where I kind of felt like I had this question about what is the responsibility and the service you provide for an audience and for a player base. And I think that's something we've had to kind of learn to walk, where we've tripped over ourselves a lot trying to serve two gods in a way. The customer that says they want everything. No one ever really wants everything, by the way. We have 1,500 cards or something like that. Like, what are you doing? You don't need all, like, it doesn't matter. You don't need it. But then there are people who I think understand what I feel, which is there is just something unique and exciting about opening something or drawing something from a deck and feeling like you hadn't seen it before. So I don't want to oversell it. It's just that you got to understand that I'm like, we have a small team and I'm just working hunched over at a desk, drawing my umpteenth card and thinking to myself sometimes, who's going to complain next that they didn't get this card for free? So I'm joking a bit. I'm joking. So
Now that we're actually talking about Doomlings, I'll get back to a comment Evan made in the beginning that said, "Please release the Overlush expansion in full one day. It would make my life worth living."
no, exactly, and that's fair. Overlush was our experiment where we wanted to see if we could make a completely bespoke expansion that, like, no two expansions would be the same. We thought surely people will buy this and enjoy the one pack that they got. But what we did quickly learn is, like, there's no way anyone's going to engage with the product that way. They want everything, and I get that. Just as Evan said, I think there's a lot of fun content in there. So now with our products, we've learned how to kind of separate the two, so that we have a fully playable expansion, and then we have something where people who want that kind of novelty and that chase can engage with it.
Right, and that's the difference between like the expansion and then the gold packs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Overlush expansion, that was kind of designed to make your household version of Doomlings unique to your house, like, so that yours would be different than your neighbors. And as far as we can tell, it was kind of the first time anybody had attempted to do like a mystery expansion where it would just, you could decide how to customize your Doomlings based on what came in your 4 packs.
There's a plushie edition.
We had a
oh yeah, a little mini plush in there. We like this.
Nice.
You can chew on them.
We were using them as first player tokens, but we have little medallions that we use for those.
Oh, that would be the "It's your turn now" plushie of, like, throw it at somebody if they're not paying attention. It's your turn.
Hey, Chris, wake up.
Yeah.
We have a few team members who don't always take their turn efficiently.
I had a physics professor once that you had to stay awake in his class because he was all the time like throwing stuff to like, this is like basic physics where you're talking about like momentum and stuff. So it was like the fear of death had to keep you from, and you like you couldn't fall asleep because you might get hit with something.
Hey, that's fair.
So okay, so we have the just kind of cruising through here. So of course, there's all sorts of extreme bundles which get you a lot of extra stuff. But you've got the classic game, of course.
Yes.
And then it looks like, was Overlush the first expansion?
We had an upgrade pack that was we designed it during our Kickstarter, our first Kickstarter, because we just didn't anticipate the backers that we got. We built a healthy campaign, but we just did not expect that. So we had to go back to some of our old game files and try to see some of the ideas we had abandoned. Could we, had they been play tested enough to put together? And that's where, one of the projects was Dinolings, Mythlings, and Techlings that we had really wanted to pursue. So we did those as a Kickstarter expansion. And then when we got that requested to be released to the public, that had never been a Kickstarter exclusive. So that was technically our first expansion.
Gotcha.
We did Overlush, which was our first mystery expansion. And then I think I think Overlush was an amazing play experience. Our first kind of fully functional expansion standalone was Imaginary Ends. And this is where we took this idea of Deeplings, Moonlings, and Glitterlings, all with their kind of own unique play style. And that would shift the meta of the classic game.
Ooh.
And then
fancy wooden box here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that is very intricate.
Oh.
I love it.
Yeah, that's another product of our second Kickstarter.
Gotcha. So is it just the reflection is it blue or is it black?
It's blue.
Okay.
It's like a dark navy blue with gold.
Oh, okay.
Flake on it.
It's just the way that okay, just the way some of the photos were. It wasn't until this photo I was
Listen,
like, oh.
I took those photos on my iPhone in my living room here. So not all perfect.
He has no excuses. He was a professional filmmaker before we got into games. So
Do my best.
When do we get Doomlings Legacy?
Doomlings Legacy?
Yeah.
Like the anniversary edition, or
no, the
like Pandemic Legacy.
Oh yeah.
Where like each game affects the next
stuff
game.
You did actually affect the game. Ripping up cards, which was like you don't do that. you don't do that. But the game says, destroy this card. You're like, no, I don't know.
Yeah. We would love to release something like that when I'm getting more than 5 hours of sleep at night.
No, just him ripping up cards is just part of his day job. This card sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we've probably got, what would you say, Justus? How many, like 500 cards out right now?
It's hard to say because there's what I've drawn and designed in my head versus what we've released in my head, and I can't ever square the two.
Your compendium website shows 775.
Well, there you go. Thank you. Why don't we know our own tool?
Well, it's like you said, because you're working on the next product. That's why you're not sitting on your laurels.
I have a challenge this year to draw. I don't know that we'll end up designing. I certainly don't think we can play test this many, but to draw 1,000 cards this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's roughly I kind of draw in a different way. I don't use a pen and paper or a tablet. It's more like I'm using hotkeys on Illustrator. It's a little more like playing the piano. It's like if you've ever seen a game of StarCraft
Yeah.
and how they like. That's the
Oh,
way I draw. I have it.
yes.
Yeah.
He's one of those people.
One of those people. Yeah.
Use the
Yeah.
use the tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
You know?
I like the
He's already got a giant army of Zerglings. I'm still trying to get my 12 guys to
Yeah.
mine the crystal. Like,
no, you gotta you gotta play the Terrans, and the first thing you do is build a second base and float it off the map so that like you can always come back if they kill you.
that's right.
I
Yeah.
love this because like the compendium totally reminds me of like the Magic the Gatherer tools that they have, where like you could dissect each card. Like I totally
Yep.
see the
Yep.
TCG kind of influence here.
Yeah,
there's-
it's so good. Whoa.
I was just go ahead.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's trying to take the best parts of TCG, but remove the barrier to entry. I do think there's a lot of fun to the competitive advantage play style of TCGs, but that's the fundamental nature of it, right? It requires
Right.
one person go out and buy a thing, and then compete with someone who goes out and buy a thing. And again, the premise here for us was we were like, hey, for anybody who might like that, but doesn't have the time for it and doesn't have the friends and family who want to engage with it, here's something that you might still enjoy. And we get that comment a lot, you know. So
Also, just as I'm
Yeah.
looking at the artwork, I'm realizing that this this reminds me of the ASDF movies.
oh sure. Sure.
They like
You
they
know-
like here hold this with the knife. Those videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are, I'm just looking through a
If
bunch
you,
of these. Like, there are 3 cards named Kidney.
Yes.
So that's an example
yeah, so
of like a card
kidneys
that,
and
that-
swarms. Kidneys and swarms are kidneys work where the more you have, the more they increase in value. It's their value increases based on the number in your trade pile. Swarms work globally, so it's kind of like an arms race. If this player is getting a lot of swarms and this player is getting a lot of swarms, they're helping each other. And so the way we make those cards different is I change the art, and we're like, look, mechanically this needs to function this way. Similarly, a fundamental part of our game is you have what's called effectless traits. Those are just points, no words at the bottom of the card. Straight and simple, 3 points. And it's our average point value. Just to give something away, you want to optimize around about 2.5 points per turn, and then you know you're doing really well. But most people don't realize that. So
now I'm gonna know.
but it makes your spread. It means that 1 is a staple in our game, and 5 is a really strong. In fact, we might not have an official effectless 5-point card. I can't remember at this point. But that means that you have to repeat these because these are, we have multiple green 1-point effectless cards because it's just a fundamental part of our game.
So what do the different colors mean? Like are
Do we loosely? Yeah. Do you want me to give you a nerdy game designer answer, or do
Go
you want
for
me
it.
to give you a pretentious artistic answer?
No, I'm looking for the game design answer.
Sure. So we keep it loose, but generally speaking, and I want to lots of asterisks here. We try to favor purple cards as being our sort of like our attack, mischief, kind of naughty cards. Blues tend to be more stability and card cycle, going to be a little more protective. Greens tend to be a little weaker and they accumulate in value, and then reds tend to be high risk, high reward. But again, I'm being very loose with this because we do have a pretty accessible appeal. which means that we can't be so restrictive with our
Right.
game design intention when it comes to those colors, if that makes sense. But we have some sleeper powerful cards. If you scroll down a little bit, there's one called Inventive. He's in a suit. Sorry, he's purple. There he is, Inventive in a suit. You see that one? So this is a 1-point card, but its utility is really effective. Playing an action from an opponent's trait pile. Actions are, sometimes in the old days, I wish we would have found a more interesting keyword for it. But basically, an action is like a trigger effect. It happens when you play it from your hand. And then we have a lot of interaction where you can replay that action. So you can see this is it's a clean and simple effect. I think it's pretty straightforward. But when you start to see kind of these other things that are going on in the game, your brain starts going like, well, wait, I could use this in a bigger way than I would have thought, because this is exactly the kind of thing that'll trigger a chain reaction.
So now you got to have the inverse deck where all the colors are flipped.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like the way Magic is played with its color wheel before.
Yeah. If we have a bigger game design team, maybe we can have the time for that.
You're the one that said you wanted to draw 1,000 cards. I just gave you 775 cards that you just got to draw and just recolor them.
Sure.
So we have this mechanic attach for our techlings.
Okay.
It's kind of like enchantments.
Yeah.
But basically what they do is they're kind of modular ways to play with your traits. Host face value is now 4. We have a couple that will be things like attach. You may play another trait that shares a color with the host trait. So it's those kind of levers that we pull where we have these little balance tools that, I don't have to explain it to you guys. You guys are smart. You get it.
I just see bionic leg and I just think of the metal arms.
Metal arms.
Hannibal Buress bit.
So all the art was inspired by the fact that I couldn't draw and Illustrator has a perfect circle tool.
Nice.
So that was kind of how I learned in the beginning, but I started thinking of these as molecules or suns and moons, planets, and so then that became a fun way to have traits express themselves. I could just draw simple triangles for teeth or horns as I was learning. And then as I got a little more, comfortable with the tool, then I started getting a lot more playful with the concepts. But in the old days, I missed, like here, if you go to a card called Propagation, I missed the challenge of I suppose you're not on the compendium. I apologize. There's a you are. I'm sorry. Over here. Yeah. Perfect.
What was it called?
Propagation. Yeah. Propagation. So it's and then remove the filter. There's a Legends of Enderis filter. If you go back, that propagation is So propagation, it's kind of a big idea in some ways. It's like, how do you draw that? Especially if you don't know how to draw.
Yeah.
And so this is where it was kind of a relief not to have committed to such a serious art style and tone. Yeah, and remember, I was going to play this with my family, but at this point, I didn't think we were going to be able to do anything with this. But, this is just copy and pasting the ball and put it on a vague drawing of a stick, as far as I could tell. I thought it did pretty good.
I like the I'm finding some of I keep clicking on all the different swarm cards and I keep seeing the jokes about like the tablet and the phones.
So it started as we're here for the new phone.
Yeah.
And there's a whole swarm of people. That was when people used to line up for iPhones back in the day. And then the joke just got out of hand.
Right.
So
Well, and we started realizing, phones might not be this might not be a thing forever. We need to start evolving to things more
We
relatable,
are
like
the new phone.
And then there
Yeah,
was
but
like,
then
we're here for the new tablet. Nope,
Yeah.
I went back too far.
but like each kidney has a different hat.
Did see that.
Like every single kidney has a different hat.
We're here for the seance.
yeah. Yeah, some of the some of the art too. So if you look up sneaky or super sneaky, so one of the mechanics in our game is called a world's end effect. And the way you know it's a world's end effect is in the bottom right corner, there's a little it looks like a 7 or like a crack in a planet. I don't know, whatever you think it looks like.
Yeah.
But world's end effects are effects that trigger at the end of the game. That's a really important, it's actually kind of a powerful mechanic in some cases because so much of our game you can't predict things. But if you have a card that doesn't happen till the end, well, then there's not really a lot of chaos that's going to screw up your plans with that card. And so this is after a card called Sneaky, where if it's in your hand, you're allowed to play it and you just sneak a couple extra points. But I was trying to figure out how to convey the idea of being super sneaky. And I thought, well, maybe if you're hiding under a couch, that's the epitome of being sneaky. So it's been kind of a relief that our game is not so serious that I have to communicate this quite so realistically.
Well, I think the art style kind of helps sell that kind of nature of the game. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't want like
Yes.
super serious artwork in this very jovial kind of chaotic game.
Yeah.
We definitely don't take ourselves too seriously.
Also, slogan for this podcast.
Yeah.
I was about to say, you got Philip's ears perking up when you started talking about Take That, because he's all about the Take That in games.
100%.
Yeah. Here I have to text my toddler is going to be calling my name here in a moment, and I don't want to awkwardly take off. But on the note of Take That, yeah, I was very shy about those types of mechanics early on because it doesn't seem like a friendly thing. And look, I'm all about them. I was just I'm trying to get my mom to play this thing. That was what I cared about. And what I kind of have learned through our game developers is the nature of the randomness and the chaos actually ends up making the Take That being, even for the lighter players who like don't want to be mean, and you always have these play testers who don't want to be mean to people, it ends up making the whole game so much more interactive. It becomes, even though we're like, hey, steal and swap and force an opponent to discard and give them negative points, instead of it coming off as mean, it comes off more as like everybody just kind of teasing each other or talk. It just opens up tabletop talk, interrupts game flow. People are going to lose their place when they start, be like, I'm coming after you next time. But I think it's a much more vibrant and lively experience. If you look at Carnivore right under Hollow Bones, so this is the highest face value we had given to a basic trait. We have traits that are dominance, they're powerful, can't remove them, and then we have these kind of basic traits. This is not a dominant, it's just 6 points. And it forces you to discard all Dinolings from your trait pile, excluding this one. And I remember when we designed this thinking, this is just bad design because they're just giving you 3x the value you should be getting in a turn for relatively low costs. The chances that you played Dinolings before are pretty low, frankly. But then in playtesting, what happens is this card comes out and the new meta is hot potato. everybody's just stealing the 6-point dinosaur. And so, it's just kind of like you think that what you're designing is bad balance until you really get in there. You realize that through the take that interaction and through these kind of mini effects, it all actually kind of sorts itself out in this weird way, and people just kind of have a good time doing it. So
Awesome. Well, I know you guys just said that you were just launching, uh, literally Friday, I think it was, the Legends of Enderis. But have you announced yet what's next?
we have not.
Okay. I've learned not to ask the like, oh, what's next until because people are like, oh, we can't say. So
We've been working very hard on a lot. This year is going to be very cool. I will say that there will be a lot of activity and a lot of energy. But
I think we want to
can't
give
reveal
our
it just yet.
I think we want to give our player base a lot of different ways to play the game. I think one of the hardest things for us is to communicate. We don't mean for you to play with everything all at once, but you
right.
certainly can. I don't know if you played Dominion, but I used to have a game group where everyone was just so good at it that you're just banging these games out, and
Yeah, when you're talking
you're
about
getting 10
games that
rounds
have
in it.
been solved, yeah, that was I played Dominion. My first time was against people that had played it to death. So like I'm
Yes.
figuring out the game and everyone's auto buying just every card. I'm like, I'm never gonna
Murder.
play this game again.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. And don't get me wrong, like there are definitely autoplay cards in our game and cards where I'm like, stop playing that, guys. Why are you playing that? Just don't play. But the thing that Dominion does really well is that it gives you a way to kind of curate your experience every night. It's just plain and simple. It's just like, I'm going to play this, and different play groups will have their own ways of putting those together. I'm just saying that's kind of the charm of it. And I think for me, I would love for people to understand Doomlings in that way. We're still kind of, in some ways, young to our audience, and some of our audience are not traditional gamers. Like
Right.
this is kind of their first real intense, I say with air quotes, experience around it. And so sometimes we'll release an expansion and they're like, what do I do? My stack is 600 cards. And I'm like, yeah,
Don't play with
that's
them
fun,
all.
but I'm not gonna play that way. And so instead, what we're trying to do this year, just as this is a very take that play style, Imaginary Ends had its own play style, Overlush had its own play style. We want to have your kind of easier, friendlier versions, or our more chaos bonanza versions. We just want to have some experiences that can cater to different tastes and play styles for different nights. So
Awesome. So if someone's hearing this episode and they want to, what's the best way of jumping in to Doomlings? Because I've seen like there's a lot of specials on your site. There's also like you can go to Target and get the plushie version.
I mean, we say start with the base game. Just get familiar with it, right? I think that's the most important thing is just getting a hang of the mechanics. You'll usually pick it up after the second or third round. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. We always say, when in doubt, just play the cutest card. Trust the cards; they'll tell you what to do. And then from there, there's kind of a choose your own adventure, where you can decide to, we've got a few different expansions that you can slot in within like Legends of Enderis, which just came out. There are basically 3 what we call clades, which are those kind of dinolings, mythlings, and techlings that can
like
be slotted
factions.
into the game. Yeah, almost like species, animals. But then there's treasures that comes with the game as well, and that is something where once you have the base kind of fundamentals down, it sort of adds a new way to play the game, and that's kind of fun in and of itself because it allows you to facilitate more combos, stop certain actions, but it's kind of an extra layer that you get to add on top of it once you're familiar with the base game.
So if you want to get into it and you are somewhat new to gaming or want a light experience or aren't sure, like Classic is perfect. If you're kind of someone who is pretty confident, you know card games very well, and you want to see interactions, um, Imaginary Ends expansion is a good start to that. I think Legends of Enderis is just as accessible as Imaginary Ends. It's just that's going to be a lot more table talk, back and forth. Take that for a play style. But to Eric's point, each of those expansions come with what we call a supplement. Imaginary Ends has magical merchants, so it's kind of like adds a new objective onto the game. It's like a mutation. It's like an anomaly. You might have seen this. I think video games do this pretty commonly. I'm not familiar in board games. Like I've seen this very often, but it's like it's just like a twist or a layer on top. So Legends of Enderis version of it is Treasures, where you're given a new type of card. It's a superpower, and it lets you kind of hack the game a little bit or do extra exciting things you hadn't planned for. But I will say the heavier gamers we play test with, and certainly in our developing branch, that's where we have to put our thinking caps on, and we're like, okay, this is a crunchy game night tonight. We're put the wine down. We need to play.
Focus.
So, yeah.
All right, and for
I
anyone
will
that,
say,
all right, go ahead.
I was going to say also, for folks who are like, okay, you can throw a few expansions and mechanics at me. The deluxe bundle will have some additional expansions inside of it. It's a very pretty box that we worked very hard on. It's kind of our Art Deco fancy box edition, and we include the Overlush expansion for free right now.
Nice. And for to keep tabs on whatever else for visions of those 1,000 cards that Justus is working on, what's the best place to keep track of everything Doomlings? Is it just the website, or do you have a Discord or social media?
Yeah, you can join the Doomlings Discord, and we're constantly doing like fun giveaways, contests. There's actually it's kind of cool. There is we did a create a card competition last year where people had ideas for a custom card that we would make, and then the community voted on those ideas. And then the one idea that advanced to the person got to work with Justus to create Swarm King. And that's now coming out, and people are discovering it in the gold packs. So there's a lot of just fun stuff like that in our Discord where we stay pretty active, and there's a couple thousand folks just chit-chatting away.
Yeah, it's also got a really great community in there, and we have 2 community support members who kind of help moderate it, and they stay really active, and a lot of place to talk about board games or nerd culture, or, just what you had for lunch. But what's nice is if you are trying the game out and you do run into things where you're like, wait, what do I do here? We do have a very active community that will answer those questions. And then anything that doesn't get answered actually does get filtered up to our team. And every morning I wake up to a new set of questions, and I'm sitting there with our head of game design, like, why didn't we think about why would we have worded it this way? Now we have to rule on this. So,
a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, Philip. I think it's time to round the show down.
That sounds about right. That's been our show, everybody. We want to thank the wonderful gentleman from Doomlings for joining us, putting up with Chris's amazing jokes on the news stories. They were good jokes. If you like what you see, you got to check us out, boardsandswords.com/live. It's got the link to the streaming channel, plus our schedule that we mostly stick to most of the time. Also, check us out at patreon.com/boardsandswords, boardsandswords.com/patreon. They'll both get you where you need to go. We got a bunch of tiers on there. Automatically, you get popped into our Discord. Chris dad jokes your favorite games. Higher tiers, there's dice. We've got Boards and Swords dice. It's a great time. You got to check us out, boardsandswords.com/patreon, and then just check out the entire website. We got links everywhere. And take it away, Chris.
All right, and feedback at boardsandswords.com. That's where we go to find like new people to interview. you know, sometimes I have to like search the web, or sometimes they come to me. But then again, sometimes we don't cover everything. So looking for always new suggestions for people to have here on the show. Remember that you can find us on Blue Sky at boardsandswords.com. It's the same as the website. It's easy like that. For that. And yeah, Philip already mentioned the show and everything. Streaming schedule is up on boardsandswords.com/live. It shows who we have next up. I actually don't have it on the screen here for me, but I'm pretty sure it's the people from Rascal themselves. The new site is going to be on the show in 2 weeks. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with another brand new episode. But in the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and sometimes we just want it to be wrapped in foil and open it up and see what's inside.
Right on. Thank you guys for having us. Really
Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks a lot, guys. This was great. I'm just giggling to myself quietly over here.
All right. That is a show. Thanks everybody for joining us in the chat. For patrons, we will be in our special Discord channel. This time we'll do we're going to be in the patron one, but we'll be there in a few minutes. But I'm going to shut the stream down now. Thank you everybody for showing up.